So personal stories or remembrances or memories of growing up in Thatcher and growing up on the farm and around milk trucks. So, uh, I just always remember there being chores to do. And for some reason, I really don't ever remember doing chores in the summer. It was always a winter thing. It was always a big deal to get dressed to go out to do chores, getting your rubber boots on, getting your coats on, your gloves, your stocking cap. Uh, we laugh now about our rubber boots back then. It always involved a bread sack on each foot to try to keep your feet dry. And you always had cold feet and cold hands. I think all we ever had was just cloth gloves. And but we fed calves at an early age. It was your job to go get the calf bottles in the milk barn while Dad was milking, and you'd carry them out in a bucket or in the summer would what I do remember is a little bit in the summer would put them in the back of a wagon, a little red wagon, and roll them down to the calf pens. In the winter would use a sleigh. You'd sit your buckets on a sleigh, and John or Alan, one of us, would balance them on the sleigh, and the other one would pull them to get them to the calves. And we never had bottle holders that you could just drop them in there and feed the calves. You had to stand there and hold them for the calves. You'd stand there and you'd hold that bottle, and the calf would be abutting you. And if you'd get a calf that was a knothead, it'd jerk its head sometimes and pull the nipple off the bottle, and you'd dump the whole bottle of milk on the ground. And as a little kid, you'd go, well, did it get enough, or do I need to go get more milk for it, and usually as a little kid you'd say, oh, it got enough, it'd be okay. And then you'd go in the milk barn, and the only part of the barn that was heated was the milk room where the milk can cooler was, and I can kind of vaguely remember having a can cooler in there that you'd put the milk cans in to cool. But I always remember having a milk tank. That was more my memory, is having a milk tank in there. And there'd be a propane heater in there. And so you'd try to get in there and stand in front of the propane heater and get warm. And if you're, there was always a bucket sitting in front of the heater for you to put your gloves on to try to dry out your gloves or warm up your gloves. And if your feet were really cold and you didn't have too big of holes in your boots, you'd run hot water on your boots to try to warm up your toes. But if you had a hole in your boot, and you run hot water on your feet, you'd run that hot water on the inside, and so then you'd burn your feet because you're running really hot water, and then you'd have a wet foot, and it'd get cold even that much quicker. I don't ever remember having chickens. There was a chicken coop, and I don't ever remember having chickens. I remember kind of vaguely having pigs a little bit, but that wasn't. It was always just the dairy and feeding calves. And then as we got older, then you'd add to your responsibility, would irrigate in the summer, would ride our motorcycles, and we refer to it as down the lane. And Dad, Grandpa would be on the milk truck. And so it was left up to us boys to irrigate and to do different things like that. And so, we always seemed like we had a responsibility at a pretty early age to do different things.